Hello, I thought it might be helpful to point out a few things that keep cropping up in arguments from religious fundamentalists. I do so to try to point out why these arguments get the negative reaction they do, to try to help you realise why these arguments are misrepresentations of atheist and freethinker positions, and hopefully this will make it clear why they generate the aggressive responses back at you. Here are a few points for any fundamentalists that want to make an original argument. Number 1. Try to understand and stop misrepresenting the concept of scientific theory. There are hundreds of videos right here on YouTube that explain scientific theory. Please watch them and try to understand the definition of the scientific use of the word theory. In science, a theory is not just an idea. It is not conjecture. It is not a scientist spuriously saying it may have happened this way. Scientific theories are supported by evidence and observation. They can be examined and tested, and if they fall short during these tests, they can be refined and corrected, or even disposed of. Think of a scientific theory as a model on which we can test and explain actions and events in nature. Kind of like a flight simulator, but nature instead of a 747. They're as close to what you regard in fact that science allows, other than in the instance of laws, which are mathematical constructs. In fact, theories can use laws as part of their construct. Scientific laws are facts, and theories are applications of facts and observations, employing them in such a way as to present a functional explanation of nature. Number 2. Stop projecting your beliefs onto atheists. An atheist has no belief in God, or any supernatural deities, so saying that we reject God because we're angry with him, or any other argument that requires us to acknowledge the existence of a deity, is disingenuous. Besides, anyone who does behave in such a manner is not an atheist, as they believe in God whether or not they want to. Just because you can't imagine a world without God does not mean that everyone else must feel the same. When you state that we deliberately ignore or refute God because we want to sin, you show how you don't even understand what an atheist is. If we believed for a nanosecond that God existed, then what would be the use in denying it? None. It's the equivalent of accusing a criminal of denying the existence of the police in order to avoid punishment. Don't use this argument. It makes you look like you're not thinking about what you're saying. The equivalent would be me saying to you, you don't believe in Vishnu or Thor or the invisible teapot because you want to deny their teachings and sin. Just as we don't believe in your teaching and dogmas, you don't believe in other people's dogmas. It's a really simple leap. To quote Professor Dawkins, we're all atheists about most gods that humanity has ever believed in. Some of us just go one god further. Number 3. Personal experience does not constitute proof. Saying you experience God does not prove anything, as we experience all sorts of things that are not what they seem. Our dreams are certainly not real, otherwise I did really actually have rampant nasty sex with Gillian Anderson last night, which would be very cool. If you make yourself dizzy, it really feels like the world is spinning quickly around an axis at your feet. However, this is obviously not the case. Amputees often have a sensation in their limb that no longer exists. These sensations are very real, but do not constitute what they superficially appear to be. So saying you feel or experience God with no other evidence than you feel or experience him is meaningless in all other regards, and you are experiencing a sensation that may be attributed to one of many causes. Number 4. Religious texts are not acceptable pieces of evidence, so stop quoting it at every bloody opportunity. You have a book that originated from orally disseminated stories with no known authors, that has been translated through several languages and revised and cherry-picked to death. If you play Chinese whispers in just one language, you see how fucked up the resulting phrase becomes within a few retellings. Add to this the difficulties of translation and interpretation and reproduction during that process, then you get something that could not possibly be infallible. So please stop presenting it as such. The multitude of interpretations of all the major texts within each religion shows in and of itself that these words cannot be infallible or divine, because we can misinterpret them so easily. The stories are most often fantastic in nature, employing supernatural imagery and events, and have parallels with previous stories that are so uncanny that, were it done in today's literary world, a cry of plagiarism would be loud and clear. The self-contradictory nature of the stories also suggests a less than reliable text. Number 5. There is no modern science in the Bible or Quran. The fact that you can read modern scientific knowledge into the Bible or Quran does not mean it is actually there. If you wish to prove the scientific content of these texts, then make an actual usable and testable discovery using just those texts. It's rather telling that all the supposed science in these books is discovered after real scientists have found, tested, proved and applied the knowledge. The fundamentalists then try to claim prior knowledge, although they have made no effort to realise or apply this obviously useful information. This reading in is another symptom of the malleable nature of the theological texts. So don't bother trying to claim scientific authority when you have no respect or understanding of science or its methods. Number 6. Stop the threats, particularly those related to the stories of your chosen texts. Threatening an atheist with an eternity in hell if they don't accept the word of Jesus or Muhammad is like you being threatened with an eternity drowning in bolognese sauce of the flying spaghetti monster, if you don't accept his noodly ways. It means nothing. Once again, it's your projection of your belief onto us that you expect us to believe that. If a Buddhist claims that you would be coming back as a shit-eating insect if you continue to follow the wrong deity, would you take that statement seriously? No? Why not? They have as much tangible evidence as you to support their belief. More seriously, death threats and physical and mental intimidation. You do not get to claim special treatment demanding respect and the abolition of criticism, while you behave like spiteful little pricks. Scaring others into silence is the action of a cowardly bully. Such behaviour has always ended badly for the aggressor, and you only garner resistance and more ridicule by behaving in this fashion. It does not further your cause, and it will not gain you followers, only enemies. Number 7. Stop asserting your moral superiority as a given. Just because you follow a god does not give you moral superiority. Your actions and interactions with others makes the difference. There are some fine young earth creationists who are cordial and interesting, while still being robust in their arguments. Then you have the Venom Fang X's of the world, who make you all look bad. Just as the faithful world has good and bad characters in it, so does the atheist world. There are some who carry a robust but polite tone, and there are those who are just downright rude and irreverent. The atheist community is much like yours in respect of the diversity of its populace. We love, hate, have fun, get sad, get hurt, and for the most part are productive, engaged members of society, just like you. We also have our share of bad apples, just like you. Our lack of faith does not mean that we have, or think we have, a free ticket to behave immorally, any more than your society does. The court cases against the Catholic Church, suicide bombers targeting civilians, or successful fraud claims against Popoff or Hovind, and all manner of other examples are evidence against the automatically assumed moral standing of the faithful. These are just a few examples of the arguments that keep cropping up time and time again, repeated parrot fashion until we snap with anger and frustration. They are not helpful points to make, as they are subjective at best and rely on the opponent accepting your beliefs, which we can't. Avoid these, and we may actually start to get somewhere. This is Spaghetti Nightmare signing off. Good night, and good luck.